Today on the Tin Man podcast show, got Hailey Coxon, motorsport presenter, producer.
Yeah.
What is that? How did you get into that?
So I come from the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And I got a love for the TT coming from the Isle of Man. I basically grew up over there, lived for the TT through the hotel that we grew up in, but got into the racing as I got older. And when I got the bug, there was no going back. So I started behind the camera for a local production company on the TT.
Any qualifications in it?
No, but I just... Not at all. I mean, I did a presenter's course in London.
Right.
Just to try it out, really, just to like see whether I was any good at it and see whether I actually enjoyed it. And when I did it, it's only like a 3-day thing. And when I did it, I loved it. So I was like, right, I want to start at the bottom, learn the craft around me, and then eventually try and get in front of the camera. So that's what I did. I started doing stuff for free, making the tea, and then moved in front of the camera.
How was that shift going in front of the camera?
Yeah, it was natural, to be honest. It felt right. It felt great. It was fun. It was like I was in the TT pit lanes. I was running around. I got my first producer credit on a Centenary documentary, Murray Walker. That was like my first real paid job. I was like, I was picking Murray Walker up, and his career started in the Airline TT. So for me, I was like, what the hell's going on? It was amazing, the most incredible experience. It just felt like that's where I was meant to be. And then when I got the call from that same production company to say, what are you doing next weekend? Do you fancy coming to Italy and trying in front of the camera? I was like, I just checked my diary. Yeah, I'll do that. And then I did it, and I was like, boom, off I went. And I did that for that particular job about 6 years.
Have you done anything else apart from this?
Yeah, I've done bits and pieces. I did a lot of film work. So what I would do is I'd do the motorsport seasons, like March to November, if you're lucky, that period. And then in the winter, I would then work on film projects. So I'd be like, the Isle of Man at the time as well, there was a big film industry there. So you had really big movies coming over.
Really?
So I was lucky enough to then work on some sets with some incredible people in the winter, and then I'd go racing again once the race season started.
What were you doing on the films?
Like runner, production assistant, whatever I could get involved in. One film I worked on, I ended up even doing some stunt driving. I'd never done that before in my life. Yeah. They threw me in a classic car and put the wig on me, dressed up like the main actress, and got me crashing a bloody classic TR3 or something into the field, and it was freaking great. I loved it. It was nuts because she couldn't drive, the actress, so they threw me in there. Right, Hailey, right, get a costume on, and off you go. And I was like, all right. And it was more money. I was like, what the hell? It was brilliant. I loved it. It was a great experience, but I bloody not when I had to hand the car back and I cracked the fuel tank, and the owner wasn't very happy. But I did the job, so yeah, it was ace.
So what do you want for yourself? Like, is this moving forward now? Like, is it something you want to get into more, doing the?
It is, so I've got, I did that for 6 years, and then I had a big life change come, and the life change came at a time when I was questioning, am I like purpose? I kind of got to a point in my life, and
what was the life change?
My biological dad, who lived in the States at the time, got lung cancer. He was 49, and he got a diagnosis, and he wasn't always in my life, and it just kind of started turning my world upside down a little bit. But at the time, I was also hit a point in my career. I was like, right, I didn't want fame. I definitely wasn't getting fortune, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to travel the world with my work. I wanted to work in motorsport, and I'd kind of done it. And worked on World Series, European Series, and 4 wheels at the time. Now I moved into 2 and 3 wheels. And it was incredible. I had the most amazing experiences, but I was just at a point, and I felt like I wasn't getting looked after in what I was doing. And I was just questioning, am I doing the right thing? What's my purpose? I was coming up to that point, and then I got the call from my dad to say he had stage 4 lung cancer. And my dad being the optimist, and he was very positive about it, but there was something in me that it just started unraveling. I just felt like he was going to be taken from me, and I'd really only sort of started getting him back in my life. So I decided to just take time out and try and be over there as much as I could to be with him through his process of care and stuff. And that was so blessed to be a part of that, but it completely broke me as well. So I came away from the industry for a little while because I was broken. I completely fell apart. But if I would not change it, I would change it. Obviously, I'd prefer him to be here. However, I wouldn't be the person that I am. And the process I went through with him, so I did sports science at uni. I went to personal training. That was my original background. I was always a sports person. But I injured my knee skiing, so I left that industry because my knee was wrecked and I'd wanted to try this new career. So I made that happen. But what happened is it reconnected me to a different lifestyle and this treatment process. So in America, when I was being there with him and I was able to go to certain appointments with him, he would started looking outside the box other than chemo. And by him doing that, he encouraged me to start doing that, watching new documentaries, researching, and I just found this holistic, and I was blown away by this holistic approach to a lifestyle.
What were you looking at? What more?
Well, with his insurance, he was a firefighter. He was a captain in a fire station, right? So he left school with nothing in the Isle of Man, and originally from Manchester, went to the Isle of Man, left with nothing, but created this kind of incredible life for himself in the States, married, had 3 kids. And he just had a real drive for life to just...
Did you lose touch with him for a while?
I did, yeah. He wasn't always
right
in my life because him and my mum were very young and they got together, and it just didn't work out. We went to America with him initially when he first moved there in the 80s. We did a few months there, whatever, and tried to make it work. But it didn't work out between them two. So I came back, and then my mum eventually married my stepdad, who's still in my life. And I love him dearly. Obviously, I've still got my biological dad, and there was a blockage there of contact through my mum's broken heart, all of that, and I kind of viewed him through her broken heart for many, many years.
Right.
So protecting myself, I kept him at a distance, but then obviously fast forward this diagnosis when I was just starting to try and let him in. It was just like, wow, I've just lost all this time, so I've got to I want to be there. So, but by being there, like, it changed and unraveled a lot, but completely re-imprinted who I wanted to be in the world and what my purpose was, really. So he replaced his GP with a naturopath in Portland, Oregon. And so I was going to those appointments with him, and she was getting me to make all these new concoctions for him and stuff, and his wife as well at the time. And there was just so much I was learning, and I was coming back to the UK, and I was having conversations with people, and people would, to me, it was blowing my mind, but also felt so simple, some of the stuff that they were doing. Yeah. And I didn't understand why people weren't doing it here, and still so many people aren't doing it here. So I'm like, right, I haven't gone through this for no reason. This hasn't broken me for no reason. There's a bigger picture here, and that bigger picture is for me to create this impact and this ripple effect of working on myself, working through my shit, if I'm allowed to swear, and then re-imprint this new process of how I move forward and then how I can impact others by doing so. So I started I retrained in various different things, which to me I class as holistic, and created my wellness brand, One Health Whole You, which I practice my mindset coach and the mindset rebel underneath that. Right. So I did that and neglected my link to motorsport. I dropped it. So then if I fast forward a couple of years in lockdown, I got asked to do a motorsport podcast, and it reconnected me to that world, and I kind of realized that was my fire. That was completely neglecting. And then I realized my dad, who got lost, those conversations with him, he loved his bikes, he loved his cars, he loved that I did what I did. And it was just something that's a little link to my healing process of bringing that back into my life, because it's my fire. I'm all about with clients saying what feeds your fire, what fires you up, what's your passion, what makes you feel alive. And in motorsport, when I'm in the pit lanes and I'm at races and I'm part of that community and connecting with the people and the stories in it.
Yeah.
It's just friggin' awesome. I love it.
And do you share that on your what is it, Mindset Rebels?
The Mindset Rebel page.
Rebel page.
Yeah, so I don't share enough of my motorsport stuff on there, but what I've done to try and it was a bit confusing how I bring the two worlds together for a while. I was trying to figure it out, and then I got clarity on a podcast, my own podcast I wanted to start, and I've slowly started launching it. Very, very early days, and it's called Rebel Without a Limit, and it's a limitless mindset podcast, so sharing stories and techniques to support you in living that way, or if you're inspired by that. So by doing that, I can bring the two worlds together. So I'll interview people in motorsport, people in sport in general, but then holistic practitioners, or and bring them together.
I think a lot of people try and do that, mate. And I've been talking to a lot of people recently about stop trying to niche down on your brand. And just because you're a mindset coach or whatever, you shouldn't just be talking about mindsets, because there's so many parts to the brand. Look, niche down on your products and services, but don't niche down on your brand. The TT and that is such a big part of you that it needs to be involved within your brand, and people who love that is going to love you as well. It's amazing that you've done it. I wondered if you'd actually done that or not, but I'm pleased that you have.
I've done it with the podcast, but I haven't pushed it enough. So what's happened is I started it in the winter, then the race season started, and I've got busy trying to keep the job going, and that, but what that is doing is it is supporting me and continue to build my relationships and my contacts and my network that will then eventually bring in and filter through into my podcast, hopefully, and share some. I just so grateful for the people that I seem to attract into my life, the conversations and the connections that I seem to attract.
That's only because there's a certain frequency you're putting out there, you're getting the same back, aren't you?
Totally. And I'm always very aware of that. I'm very grateful for it. Even at the weekend, I've just come from an event there, and some of the stories and the people, I'm still in kind of shock and awe of what actually happened in a 3-day period, and the incredible experience.
What was the event?
Goodwood Revival.
Right.
So Goodwood is down in Chichester, down in Sussex, and it's kind of a famous kind of motorsport venue. I don't know, it's like an estate, Goodwood Estate. It's owned by Duke of Richmond, Lord March, and he does motorsport festivals there. So the Goodwood is the famous one, and Goodwood Festival of Speed in July, and then the Revival is in September, which is period. So it's all classic cars and bikes, but everyone is dressed up. It's like a film set. You walk around, and the attention to detail everywhere, it's phenomenal. The ladies look, it's just beautiful to
So what have you gone down there with a mic and a camera?
No, that's the plan, hopefully, for next year. So I've gone down because I've only ever been for a day, so this is my first full weekend. So I went to reconnect with old people, old friends, old colleagues, and then queue up kind of how I would approach it next year, hopefully with one of the YouTube channels that I'm part of. I want to go in, a Two Wheeling Classics YouTube channel is to go in there and then create content and film content and interviews next year. So I wanted to go in and experience as a punter, experience it for myself. A friend of mine works on it, so I was there with her. We were on the campsite, but we were with one of the teams. In fact, they won. They were winning classic bike team, and they were incredible in themselves. Some of their classic bikes they brought to the festival was just phenomenal, and the stories behind why but I ended up helping. Just the conversations, my mindset stuff always comes into it. So there's always a case there where I end up helping someone with a certain conversation, offering a free session, or it just always filters through, people in the paddock, whatever paddock I'm in, there's always someone there that I end up being able to help, which is just amazing. Whether it be the daughter of someone, or a racer, or a team manager, or even a presenter. It filters through, which is amazing. So I'm very, very grateful for it, and it's feeding my fire at the same time. So you got your yin and your yang, haven't you? And the motorsport side is my yang, and then my yin is my holistic side. So it's finding that balance, though, and it's great. It's a great weekend.
It's good. I'm glad you're doing it. It's just like I put stuff on about going to gym. I put stuff on like my dog. I put stuff on. Yeah. People are like, well, what's that got to do with branding? And it's everything to do with branding, because that's what a brand is. It's all showing all parts of you, and then you know, you get a job off, like me running to dog with work, and people are like, how did you get a job off that? It's just, people they buy from people.
Absolutely.
And if they like that, then they know. So
totally.
It's good. It's amazing that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And it feels like Mindset Rebel is that kind of way of thinking as well.
Yeah, it feels like it suits it better, because my actual wellness brand is One Health Whole You, and it sounds quite fluffy, but that kind of just allows me to put other stuff underneath it, you know. And the Mindset Rebel suits the link to my motorsport and suits the link to Rebel Without a Limit podcast. Yeah. And the Rebel Without a Limit name came from Rebel Without a Cause, a classic movie that I love with James Dean in it. Yeah. And the twist on, and it just all kind of links in now. Hopefully, I just need to be more like organised in how I approach getting my content out there, to really share more of my story now, because I run other content.
And have you not
for other
thought
people.
about just calling it all Hailey Coxon at the top, and then those things are underneath it?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's really, you are the brand.
It's I think I've just felt the need that I needed to distinguish the different things, so not to confuse people, because I was running it under my name for a while, and I felt like it was just confusing to people, and people were saying, what are you actually doing? So, and I was kind of getting that from people, so I thought, okay, I'll separate the wellness brand, I'll put my name as my profile for the presenting, and I'll just see how that ticks over. So I don't know, we'll see how it evolves and how it goes. And then I've obviously got the podcast page too, so it's like, I know. But I'll get there, and it'll keep evolving. Like, I'm sure you guys, is incredible podcast that you've got, and I love your branding. You guys caught my eye a long time ago, and I like it a lot. I like your energy with
it's the same frequency what you're doing, you know what I mean? It's like we get the same people, you know, people working with us because of the frequency that they put out there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's important to follow and feed your fire, and I think, like you say, that frequency just invites incredible opportunity, conversations, connections, etc. You know, you see it. It's hard when you see friends, family, or even clients who've been repeating cycles, and it's always everything external that is the reason for something not happening. And it's really hard to, the friends and family thing, it's hard because I want to shake it out of them, because I can't really, it's hard to treat them and work with them. Clients, I know I can work with them and help them, and it's amazing to see them evolve. But when you see people stuck in that space, it's just such a waste, isn't it? It just, I want more for them. And
how do you stop yourself from going at them would see you blue in the face?
It took some learning. You know, I was always a fixer.
Yeah.
I learned from a very young age to leave my, to prioritize others, supporting others over my needs. Subconsciously learnt that, and so that ripple effect went on for a long time. And then again, I had a shift, and that shift was linked to self-love.
What was that shift?
I went to Prix. I went into the jungle for 2 weeks, and I worked with I committed to ayahuasca, and I lived with a tribe for 12 days. We did 7 ceremonies, and
back to back
in 12 days. So we had some breaks. I know.
Fucking hell! Tell me about that. Tell me about your first experience, the first time you had ayahuasca.
Yeah, do you know what? To just do a kind of pre-build-up to explain, my dad had died in July. My ex, I was off and on with my ex at the time, and I'd moved back to the Isle of Man, and we kind of got back together, but he was in a terrible place. He'd lost his mum. I was completely broken. We're just two broken people. And in my holistic research and I'd found techniques that were helping me at the time, but I was, constantly searching, like, how can I go deeper? And I came across ayahuasca, so I shared it with my boyfriend at the time, and he said, right, I'm going at Christmas, are you coming with me? I went, I don't know how I'm going to get into tomorrow, never mind what I'm doing at Christmas.
What, really that bad for you?
I was just getting myself through it. Yeah, I was completely and utterly, I was just broken. My whole world had just imploded.
I see rock bottom, Hailey.
Yeah, definitely. Like, everything.
Were you thinking of ending it?
I wouldn't say I was thinking of ending it, but I definitely, for a very long time, I couldn't see past how broken I felt, but I wouldn't own up to it either. So I wouldn't ask for help because that was the way that I was. I didn't want to burden anyone with my grief. I didn't want to burden anyone with how dark I was feeling inside. So I just wanted to do it myself, which is just was my common theme back then, and even can be a default mode if I'm not aware now. So asking for help wasn't my forte, but I was just researching to find ways that would help me get out of where I was and what I was feeling. So I shared it with him, not for me, I shared it with him. He booked on, it got completely fully booked, but I'd moved back in with him. So you have to follow a diet, a certain lifestyle in the build up to it. So I was cooking for him, we were learning, we were listening, and we were getting ourselves ready for it, even though I wasn't going, but I always knew that I was going. 3 days before he was due to go, someone cancelled and a space popped up, and I was like, boom, off I go. So
how much was it?
I think it might have been about 1,200 quid at the time, but then you had your flights and everything.
How long ago was it?
It would be this winter, this Christmas, it'd be 10 years, because it's just been 10 years, my dad.
So it's really not before the trend has kicked off with it. This is before everyone else is doing it.
Absolutely, yeah.
How many people are there when you go?
We had 23 on our retreat.
All going through the same experience?
Some experience, some regulars, some new. It was just insane. There was one guy, he was there for the second time because he'd come to support his uncle previously, and he never came to work on it. He was like, I'm just coming to support my uncle really needs it. And he came, and the tribe, the shamans, had never seen anything like it in their whole years of running these retreats, these ceremonies. His body got it was possessed, and he was getting thrown around, and basically what they figured out was there was a curse that had been placed on their family.
Right.
Yeah, and so he'd gone back to fully clear it up, and there was other people just there for progression. And for me, I got there and I'm like, no, I'm fine, I'm here to support. I've just come here, I know I want to do it,
cool. Yeah.
So first ceremony, coming back to that.
So what do you do? Tell me what you do. You sit there, what happens?
They set you up in the Malacca, so it's like the spiritual kind of building they run the ceremonies in.
Right.
But we had to follow a diet and a lifestyle. You're not allowed to have sex, salt, sugar, alcohol. You could only eat game. You couldn't eat certain meats, fish. Really interesting. And then when we got there, we lived a lot of the food that they cooked us was grown on the land, which was amazing. They put us in wooden huts with compost toilets, minimal living, no contact with the outside world. And it was Christmas, it was Christmas time. So it was great though. I love that minimalistic living and being in the jungle, and the noises of the nature around you. It was just phenomenal.
Sounds mint, that.
Oh, it was incredible. So the ceremony comes, we go to the Malacca, and they set beds up for everyone, like futons on the floor, single futons. You got buckets at the side because you're going to puke. Blankets, pillows, you have your water, and then they give you your drink. So you all go up and they bless the ayahuasca, and they give you is it mapacha? I think it's mapacha. It's like you smoke. It's kind of like a tobacco, but it cleanses the energies around you, so you blow that around yourself. You go up and then you drink, and it was just the most brutal thing to taste. Wasn't easy. It was gross.
How much is there of it?
There's probably only I don't know how many mils, maybe 70 mils or something like that. First time, but then you build on it each time. And you can go, but what would happen is some people would just go, I'm going to go big, and they would, but the medicine would only take you to where you're meant to go. So you could take
as much as you want, it'll still
but she'll only guide you. So drank it, and then each shamans, we had 3 males, 2 females. Shamans, yeah.
Wow.
And they would go around, and they would, at least twice, they would go around the circle. There's no lights on, no nothing. It's all just like candlelit, and they're singing constantly through the ceremony for hours. and they come round and sing at the top of your bed individually, every single one of them, at least twice. So first ceremony, I did it, and I just had a nice experience. It was like nice colours, you know. It was a bit trippy. It was lovely. It was nice.
Yeah.
But I didn't purge. You're supposed to purge.
How long did it last for?
Till the morning. I'd say till maybe about. Yeah, I slept there, so you can sleep. The first night I didn't sleep there. Actually, I tried to make it back to my hut, and that was a big mistake. So
why?
I just stayed there because I'm trying to like wobble through the little paths in the trees, and there's not really paths, it's in between bushes, and it was just it felt like it distracted me from my lovely experience because it was freaking me out.
Like a fucking panther just gonna come and grab you.
Like, what the hell? So I stayed in the Malacca after that, but yeah, about 6 o'clock I woke up at 6.
So what, 8 hours?
Yeah, maybe a little bit less. Because then I managed to have a bit of a sleep, and then I'd wake up about 6 in there, but I'd still feel, but you're
a little disorientated.
Everything's sparkling.
Right, okay.
Yeah, it was just
HD.
Yeah, and the noises, the waking up to that noise of that nature, and everything is just sparkling. It was just stunning. But it wasn't until my third ceremony that I really let myself go, because I realised subconsciously I wasn't letting myself go, because I was worried about him. He was on the other side of the room. We were separated, but I was worried. Naturally, me being an empath, I'm worried. I've heard people's stories. I want to look after everyone, so I didn't let myself go.
So second one, same sort of experience again.
Yeah, nice.
And then third, what happened?
Nice again. It was, and third, there was one of the female shamans whose voice got me, and she was the only one. When she came around to sing to me then after that third ceremony, the vibration of her voice just got right inside me, and then just that was it.
Crying,
purging. Yes, I was purging,
crying, sick everywhere,
puke, everything, coming out of everywhere. It was so you have to be guided to the toilet, and then just puking, but just the most brutal, messy, darkest, beautiful experience. And it was the first I knew about self-love, but I don't think definitely up until that point I hadn't really felt it for myself. And that's what I call my Mother Aya. She guided me finally to that space of self-love. And when I felt that space of self-love, everything began to start to re-imprint. It was a really long old process, but I believe that was kind of the beginning of the end to that relationship as well, because we were off and on and it wasn't really right. But it's because I started to genuinely feel self-love, and I wanted better for myself and in every way. And it was just the most incredible experience. And yeah, it was dark, it was hard, but it was amazing. And if you are called to it, I highly recommend. I went to the Temple of the Way of Light, and the way they look after you, they were fantastic. So I would go back there in a heartbeat. Definitely. Yeah, for sure. And I will. But now it I want to say bothers, but I just think, it's become such a trend now, ayahuasca, hasn't it? And it's the most incredible plant medicine to work with, but done right. Yeah. To go and do it on a weekend somewhere, if you're being called to it and it helps you, brilliant, but you're opening yourself up to such a powerful space. Yeah, it
can actually fucking give you more trauma than you actually start.
Do you know what I mean? You got to then get in a car and drive home. It's just, it's not. I think it's kind of disrespectful to yourself if you're being called to it. You're being called to it because she really, really, really wants to help you and commit to that whole immersive experience, and it'll just take you to another level. And yeah, I'd do it in a heartbeat for sure. And I met some incredible people as well. Wow. Yeah, it was awesome. Great.
Mad that I never knew that you did that.
Yeah. Mad. It was fab. Yeah, check it out. I'll send you the link to it anyway.
I think I had a calling for it once, but I feel like it was just thing. But then I got presented mushrooms instead, and I've done a couple of mushroom ceremonies. Yeah. Which were kind of what you're explaining, brutal, dark, horrible, but brutal at the same time, beautiful at the same time.
Yeah.
I might do. I'm just like I want to do it the right way. It needs to be a ceremony. It needs to be done right.
And the space held well and a trusted space. But the mushrooms are great. You know, I'd never done psychedelics. It was the first psychedelic I ever done. And, well, not actually intentionally. I had, but not intentionally. I hadn't done them before. Now I've found mushroom chocolates.
Yeah, and that's what I had.
Yeah, and I just think they're so important. You know what? When we go to school and the shit that we get taught, get overwhelmed with, get like the guilt and the shame pushed on us. If you don't fit into this box, you know, you're not going to be successful. But what is success? Success is defined in so many different ways for so many different people. And the education there, it's just so dated, isn't it? And psychedelics and how they can help people, it's just it's huge, isn't it? And with regards to mental health, just phenomenal.
I'd been to see a counsellor and talked about stuff, but then in the mushrooms got presented stuff that I didn't even know they had problems about, so I couldn't even talk to my counsellor about them. So you know, the mushrooms had kind of like opened up with some conscious and said, look, you need to look at this, Tim, because this actually traumatised you when you were 17. You don't actually realise that it did, so you can't talk about it. So it's helped me in a beautiful, beautiful way. I will keep going back. I'll shout out to my mate Sandra, she's been on the podcast and we have talked about it. But she holds a beautiful space at a house in Whitefield, and she does it like once a month.
Oh, fab. I'll have to get those details from you.
Mate, she's incredible. There's 3 of them. Shout out to Georgie as well. So she plays the sound. Another girl will do the sense. And then Sandra will go around. She's a beautiful light healer as well. It's amazing.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Sounds right up my
street. The last one I had a hero's dose on the last one. I was just ended up in the fetal position at the end. Just the man stripped from me. But I can just show that in order to me everything, I've got to accept the fact that I'm nothing. And I was just like, fucking, I don't want to hear that. This thing that I built up, this identity that I built up all these years, and you're telling me I'm nothing now. So I'm constantly on that journey at the minute. It's beautiful, it's horrible, and it's like, it's very humbling is the word that I didn't. You just don't realise it. Fuck it, I've like gone through half of my life like being taught a certain way, and I'm now trying to fucking unteach myself for the rest of my life. You know, and just kind of figure out that, you know, we're nothing really. We're nothing, and just, you know, come from a place of kindness and integrity and do the right thing, and you know, that's how I try to run my business and treat people the same way.
And again, that means you then attract, you know, that awareness and that commitment to that. You attract so many incredible experiencing people into your life then by doing that, don't you? So have you done Cambo?
I've done Cambo a few times.
That's my next one I want to do. I've not done that yet.
Really nice experience again, really cleansing. What I did really get from Cambo was when I finished the actual ceremony and stuff, everything became so clear, colours, greens, and it was like someone had just like turned everything on HD. I was like, wow, this is amazing.
Wow. I've got to, that's next. That's going to happen soon, I reckon.
But again, Sandra, she does the Campbell as well. I'll put you in touch with her. You'll really like her.
Great.
You'll really like her.
Love that.
It's
but coming back to the ayahuasca, I had breath work, so I discovered breath work a few years ago, and then I tried holotropic for the first time, and my first experience with holotropic breath work, I had an almost hint of ayahuasca experience on it. It was incredible.
Yeah, same, mate. Same.
I was so like, what is
when
this?
you do it right. Yeah.
I mean, you need to be guided. I think it's important to be educated and guided properly on the breath work, because it can cause anxiety, can't it, and stress, and finding the right technique that suits you and where you're at. But wow, and it's free. What we can do for ourselves, the impact on our health, our mental health, our physical health is insane with the breath work. And most of us don't breathe properly, do we? But wow, I went on a proper journey with that.
It's amazing. I do breath work every day. It's simple, and sometimes depending on how I'm feeling, I'll drop it. But I tend to now do a lot of, I kind of sit in stillness a lot. So I wake up when my subconscious is still open, and I'll just sit there and ask questions.
It's so important, that, isn't it? So many people are afraid of stillness and quiet stillness, aren't they? They choose chaos or busyness in order to not have to sit with themselves.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. It's such a simple but powerful process to allow yourself to do, isn't it? The communications that you can get.
Yeah, the answers that will come back to you if you ask the right questions. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, really definitely. So important. I met on the ayahuasca retreat, I met this incredible lady from California, and she was there. She's a psychologist, but so many different avenues to how she approaches the psychology and with her clients. And she was there researching and diving in to learn more about herself, getting more guidance. She was writing books at the time. Eventually, fast forward a couple of years, she came here and did a book tour, and I helped her organise all of that. But she stayed with me, and she'd give me a session, and she gave me my first kind of she told me about stillness. Sit there, talk to yourself, breathe deeply. And I was like, what the hell is this? It was just so simple, but whoa! I'm like, this is my inner GPS. Yeah. This is where it is. Yeah. And she's trying to speak to me. She's trying to guide me, and I keep neglecting her, and I keep blocking her, and leading myself with other people's guide in here, not myself. And it was, wow, incredible. Yeah. So
I think I started off meditation. I've always struggled with meditation, to be honest. But a friend of mine, Tom, who's a healer, he kind of taught me about. I think what I'm doing wrong is that I'm getting guided too much, and I'm putting YouTube on, and I'm like, what's it? These people are guiding your meditation. Where what he teaches me is I put my hands behind my head, where I'm like kind of doing that. He goes, right, okay, now ask yourself the questions, and then when you feel it right, then I start putting my hands on where it's actually hurting and stuff, like exactly what you did then, and you start doing that, and then the sort of like answers have come, and that's like changed everything. Because I'm constantly going gym, I'm constantly doing breath work, I'm constantly doing cold water, and these things are great, but they're just hardening my heart, aren't they? They're just toughening up. Where I need to be a bit more softer on myself and a bit more kind of kindness, and that's what that's doing with nothing on in stillness. Allowing myself to feel and then cry, feel, and then release, instead of just going
because it's a default mode for survival, isn't it? We can just be busy, I've done that when I've gone through a lot of grief in my life, and my default is to just get busy taking care of others, but then eventually you do break further down the line, don't you? And it's trusting that you can create the space for yourself to just feel, allowing yourself to feel, allowing the emotions, and knowing and trusting that you, on the other side, there's people there around you that you can lean on when you feel a little bit broken down, because you've allowed yourself to feel that process. And it's so important to allow ourselves that space, isn't it? For the lessons, for the growth, and the awareness. But
Is this what you're teaching people then?
As much as I can. Basically, how I talk about the style of coaching that I do is I support people in re-imprinting an emotional connection to a previous experience, and in doing that they then find balance using a whole body mindset. So like one of the techniques I found, and I ended up training in because it was just a game changer, was emotional freedom technique. Tapping.
EMF tapping.
And then you do it. There's various different points on the body. There's this like a sequence that you can do with dialogue, etc. But then the main guy in the UK that does it, he then created something called matrix re-imprinting off the back of that, and I ended up training in that, which complements it. Just takes you a little bit deeper with the tapping, and it helps you go into a previous memory and re-imprint your emotional connection to it. And the shifts that I've seen with that, guiding people into that space and helping them re-imprint, because so many people can be, when they don't allow to feel and process a trauma. And traumas, when we use the word trauma, generally most people think a car crash or something huge, but they can be the tiniest little things, tiniest little experiences and moments in our life that have just been, the body keeps a score, that famous book, The Body Keeps a Score, and it's noted, isn't it? Subconscious has noted it.
It ruined me my relationship with the word trauma. It ruined me. Because who am I to feel that when somebody's brother had died or that I wasn't willing to look at these things. And then when I understood what you just talked about now, that's when I could start healing properly from them. Isn't it?
It's so important to allow yourself that space to identify that timeline, because we'll have a timeline of multiple traumas. But generally, when you can look at a timeline, that until you start doing the work, you can kind of see a repeated experience that keeps coming in, a repeated pattern, a repeated attraction of certain relationships or people into your life. That is constantly like, it's like, hello, I'm here, I'm trying to teach you, but you're going to keep closing the door on it. I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to keep banging on that door until you open it up and you let me speak to you, and then you listen and we can build something together. It's a common thing. So and when I can support someone to re-imprint that, it's phenomenal, the change and the shift. You know, you hear it a lot now, inner child treatment, inner child work. And that's basically it, you know, because we've got that inner child that wasn't maybe supported or loved. You know, we've all got our own love languages, and maybe, you know, you weren't shown love when you were younger in a way that you translate that language. So you think that you're not being loved because someone is loving you, is speaking a different language to you. But really, it's just how you process that and how you choose to process that. And it's all linked to your relationship with yourself, isn't it? So fast forward, re-imprinting that is phenomenal to watch people thrive when they do that and they're able to re-imprint that. It's horrible to watch, and it's ancestral too. Like someone recently came to me, and the stuff that she's gone through as a teenager and repeated experiences through her life, and she's now 53. It's rippled into her daughter's life, and her daughter's created similar experiences to what traumas she went through. Because that's how they kind of see the world. That vibration is rippling through. But then when you see the vibration change in them and the ripple effect over time then impact those around them, it's just the most beautiful thing, you know. And so for me, that's so important. Like, I wasn't put on this planet to just go and have fun and run around in pit lanes and jump on motorbikes and do all of that. I freaking love it. It's great. I was put on this planet to live my life as authentically, as true as possible, with integrity, with truth, with presence. And I keep given these downloads and these, I've got this intuition and then this hunger to keep growing and learning to then help others. It's so important to me, because I wasn't broken multiple times through different experiences to not help others having come out the other side. You know, that knowledge and that experience is not just for me, it's for others to hopefully benefit from. So it's a responsibility that I'm really excited and proud to feel and be aware of. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
How do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you?
Just through so my wellness page, my Mindset Rebel page on Instagram, on Facebook, but also email. So if you can just email me at hailey@haileycoxon.co. My website's there. My website explains some of my motorsport stuff, some of my wellness stuff, currently being updated. So everything is on the website. So if you go at haileycoxon.co, and that's it. Everything's on there, contact details, and you see a bit more of my story. I've probably spoke plenty of it today. It gives you a little bit more of what I'm qualified in and trained in. So if that resonates with you, then you know you can reach out to me. And I'll be doing retreats. The idea is I'm doing Rebel Yoga because I'm a yoga instructor as well. And in Rebel Yoga will be included in my Mindset Rebel retreat. So that will be coming. That'll be in the pipeline. And then my motorsport stuff will just continue. I'm going to take that to another level too. So
with this podcast, I put a title, right?
Yeah.
And it will say 70. What are we on, Charles? 76? 77.
Yeah.
Hailey Coxon. What do you want me to put after that? Because I introduced you as a motorsport presenter and producer. What would you like? What would you like it to say?
Presenter and holistic mindset coach. That's what I.
What are you more? What do you want to be known for, Hailey?
Speaking, I suppose, and inspiring. Coaching is my drive, my responsibility.
I need you to sit on this.
Yeah.
And I need you to message me tomorrow after you've done a meditation.
Yeah.
And ask the question.
Yeah.
What that is. Yeah. What do you want to be known for? Like I said, the motorsport is just a part of you.
Yeah.
And all these things, but what is that you want to be known for?
Like full stop, or just on the podcast?
Just on the podcast.
Okay. I just keep saying presenter in my head, but I am going to go and sit with it and breathe into it. Yeah.
Because you're so much more than that after I've talked to you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know much of that, and I didn't want to know much of it because I wanted it to be, But I feel that, you've been put on this planet to do that, haven't you? To help people with that.
Yeah, definitely. The aspiration moving forwards is I want to speak, I want to travel, and I want to speak. I want to be a speaker, I want to share a story, I want to hold space for people. So those retreats and the idea, I used to run retreats for another company before lockdown.
So it's all going back round to...
So it's all... And I worked with some incredible people doing that, but I'm like, I should be doing this on my own, I should be doing it under my own brand, so that I know everything is covered. You know what I mean? And that's the big impact. I think I can get that going. That'll allow me to then have more speaking space, and then eventually maybe grow that from there. But playing around with cars and bikes and presenting and sharing the stories with them people, and like the time when Dad got sick and I was questioning what I'm doing in the industry, and I went to Le Mans. I went to Le Mans 24 hours for the first time. It was ace, and I was really at a point where I'm like, oh God, is this the right place where I'm meant to be? Blah, blah, blah. And I was searching, and at the time I didn't really have anyone I felt that was guiding me to somewhere. And I had this, he's actually a good friend now, many, many years later, 14 years later, whatever. And he's built my website for me and everything. He works in motorsport. And we had this conversation, and he introduced me to this book. And this book is called The 33 Steps to Your Infinite Self, I think. And it's a guy called Stuart Wilde. He's got an amazing prayer called the Warrior's Prayer. I'd highly recommend looking it up. Beautiful prayer. I spent many days reading that to get me through some dark times.
The Warrior's Prayer.
The Warrior's Prayer by Stuart Wilde.
You sent it me.
Yeah, no problem. And he just said, get this book. And he pulled it out of his bag, and he went, I travel with it whenever I need it. And he then sort of put me on this email chain of like him, phenomenal, legendary driver who I got a connection with. Spirituality was bringing us together, and we were just inspiring and it got me through another little state. And that came from my motorsport community. I didn't have to go to a ceremony. It was there. They're everywhere. It's like you say, everywhere. You put it out there, you're ready for it. Those conversations come to you, and he and I come back into contact whenever we need support from various different angles, and it's great, and I really appreciate that. But that book for me, and The Power of Now, and The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, they were massive game changers for me at the beginning of that holistic process. And then just really grateful for that, and the shift again that gave me. So The Warrior's Prayer, I will send it to you. Check it out. Thank
you, Hailey.
No,
thank you for your time. Very grateful you're on, mate.
Thank
you for listening, everybody.
Goodbye.